Hello and welcome to Books of Blood. My name is John, and today I finally get to do a book haul video after a long dry spell. Actually, not too long, as I know in between I've had a few small ones, but this is the first really big book haul that I have had the chance to do in a long time. I was waiting on the arrival of the books I ordered from bookoutlet.com, and I told myself, I said, you know what, I said, as soon as these books arrive, I'm going to put this video together. So I've got a bunch of books here. I'm probably not going to read the synopsis on every single one of these because, like I said, there's just a lot of books here. So that being said, go get yourself a beer, get yourself a Pepsi, get yourself a cup of coffee, get you some popcorn, get you whatever you need to get, strap yourself in, and let's get this thing started, alrighty? So, first up, and these are some limited edition books that I got from Ethereal Visions Publishing and from the Folio Society. And I'm going to leave a link to both of theirs in the description below, alright? So, the first one I got from Ethereal Visions is this awesome Dracula. I mean, it's got this, I don't know, I'm not sure what this is, what it represents, but it's just really just beautiful cover. Got the lettering is so nice and it's raised, and the color of the gray of the cover, just really beautiful. Alright? And it's illustrated inside. Now, the illustrations are by this guy. His name's Matt Hughes. And so throughout the book, with the chapters and everything, he's got these. Let me find one here. Like with chapter 2, he's got this right here. Okay. But he's also got some color illustrations. I'm going to find one. Here we go. Actually, you know what? I want to find one of Lucy when she's been turned into the Bloofer lady, because it's a really awesome illustration. I think I'm getting to it. There it is. And they're all protected by these pieces of paper, like this really thin paper. And I'm just going to leave them in there, you know. And the pages, these illustrations, they lift up. They're not like attached. They lift. But they don't. But they're attached at the very top. Anyway, there's Lucy. It's got that a quote. The lips were crimson with fresh blood, and that the stream had trickled over her chin and stained the purity of her lawn death robe. Anyway, there it is one more time. So yeah, that one I got, or this one I got from the Folio Society, and actually let me put that piece of paper back in there lest I forget. And I don't want to forget. So here we go. Okay. Trying to do this as fast as I can. Got a lot of books to go through. Alright, so there's that. Let me put it back in the... Actually, it didn't have a slipcase. Sorry about that. Okay. Alright, so that was from Ethereal Visions, and these next three are all going to be from the Folio Society, and the first one I've got is another Dracula. Okay, and there's that cover. There's the slipcase. Kind of looks like blood or something. Let's take it out of the slipcase. Yeah, there's really nice front cover here. Really nice blood red lettering. The bat in the moonlight, and looks like a little bit of a cloud. The moon's slipping behind a cloud, kind of, or maybe coming out. I don't know. Then you got on the side here. And this has illustrations also, and I believe they are by Angela Barrett. I started to say Angela Bassett, but she's an actress. Anyway, so let me find a couple of them here. Where's the one of Dracula? Here it is. Here's this one of Dracula. Okay. And let's do one more. Let's find one more. Here we go. Here's another one. Just really nice, well put together edition. You know, and I've been wanting to get some of these collector's editions for a long time, and I've got the opportunity to do so. Alright. So there's that. And then also from the Folio Society, the last two are from the Folio Society. Not the last two books, mind you. But anyway, this next one is The Haunting of Hill House. And there's a nice wraparound, slip cover. Then you get the front of the book. You got Hill House from the front. Turn it around there, and it is from the back. Really nice spine to it. And this one's also illustrated, and it's got little quotes for the illustrations. Like this one here. Where'd it go? Is the illustration for Good God, whose hand was I holding? Okay. And then you go to this one in the back here. Where'd it go? Silence lay steadily against the wood and stone of Hill House, and whatever walked there walked alone. And if you notice, there's like a spectral shadow of someone walking, but there's nobody there. Alright? Anyway, that's The Haunting of Hill House. Love these editions. Alright. And then finally from the Folio Society. Oops, I'm about to take it out of the slipcover. Here's the slipcover. Okay, nice beautiful red. And this is for Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. Okay, let's take it out now and look at this gorgeous cover. Look at that. That is just absolutely amazing, alright? Okay, let's look at some more illustrations. The illustrations for this are by D.G. Smith. So let's find one. There's one right here. Okay. And then let's find, there's one of this old lady, and she's like really mean looking. Is it here? No, that's not it. Let's find her real quick, okay? I will not rest until I find her. Actually, I will, because I'm tired. Anyway, there she is. Alright. So yeah, that's Rebecca. I've never read Rebecca. Alright. I've read a few things about Daphne du Maurier. Don't Look Now, The Birds. Those books or those stories, but I've never read Rebecca. I started reading it the other night. Just read the first sentence and it almost drew me right in. I almost just kept on reading. Alright. So, I got a stack of books here. Hopefully they're not going to fall over. This is the only way I knew how to get these books in one place and be able to grab them. So I'm just going to grab them off the top. We're going to start with the ones from Amazon. So the first one from Amazon, please don't fall. Please don't fall. Thank you. Thank you. Very good. Anyway, first one we got is Legends of the Werewolf Hunter. This is an anthology of stories based on characters from the Autobiography of a Werewolf Hunter series by Brian Easton. There are 3 novels out, which is the first one, which is When the Autumn Moon is Bright. The second one is Heart of Scars, and the third one is The Lineage. And he's got another one out that was a prequel series, and it was supposed to be a trilogy. And the only one he put out, though, was the Winter Fox Journals. He hasn't put any more out. But anyway, these are stories based on those characters. Alright, so lots of werewolf action in here. Okay, so I'm going to move this one over to here. And I hate to lean down like that. I apologize for that. Okay. And then I got another collection of stories, and this is the Mammoth Book of Folk Horror. And it's edited by Stephen Jones. Got stories by Algernon Blackwood, Ramsey Campbell, Allison Littlewood, Kim Newman, Carl Edward Wagner, H.P. Lovecraft. Just a whole bunch of people. The only thing I don't like about ordering from Amazon is you never know when they're going to be careful or not with your books. And they weren't. I have this little space spot right here. But it's not too bad. I just wish they would be more careful. Alright? So there's that. The Mammoth Book of Folk Horror. Okay. Alright. Okay, so this next one is going to look so nice right here beside Slewfoot. This is Krampus, the Yule Lord, and it's by Brom. And once again, it's got some gorgeous illustrations, one of which I'm going to show you. It's going to be a really, it's actually, I'm not going to show you in the book. It's not in the book. Well, it is, but it's not in the book. That sounds really strange to say. Sorry about that. Where'd it go? Because he's got some color illustrations. So let me show you these. I'm not going to show you Krampus. Let me show you, first of all, here's one of Santa Claus. Man, Santa's buff, man. And then this other character whose name is Perchetta, or Perchetta. Just some beautiful illustrations, but here was what was really a nice, pleasant surprise. So when I got the book, inside the book is a poster, okay? And the poster is a larger scale rendition of the illustration of Krampus from the book, from inside the book. That is just awesome. I'm going to hang that up. I'm going to put it, I don't know what size this is. I'll have to figure it out, but that's just nice, man. Look at that. I mean, just absolutely gorgeous. And that's just a nice surprise to be able to get with something like this. I wonder if I had ordered Slewfoot from Amazon, would I have gotten a poster from Slewfoot for something like that? I don't know. Because I got Slewfoot, I got it at Barnes & Noble, okay? Anyway, that is Krampus, the Yule Lord. Let me get that in there really good, okay? All right, moving on, we've got Below by Laurel Hightower. And this is about a woman whose car, or her, I think it's her car, starts giving her electrical problems. And she's picked up by this truck driver. He's kind of charismatic. And then this really, excuse me, I am so sorry for that. This creature, which I'm assuming is the one on the book right here, does something to where the woman's got to make a decision as to whether or not she wants to help this gentleman, this truck driver, you know, and probably risk her own life. And this looks like the Mothman, and since it takes place in West Virginia, I'm kind of assuming this probably is supposed to be the Mothman. Alright? Anyways, by Laurel Hightower. There you go. Okay. Alright. Got a little bit of werewolf fiction here from Ronald Kelly. This is Undertaker's Moon. And this was actually published in like the 1990s, I believe. Let me look it up. Let me find out here so I don't get it wrong. I featured this. It was published a limited hardcover in 1991 under the title Moon of the Werewolf from Zebra Books. And I bet Nick over at Spooky Noodles, I bet he's got Moon of the Werewolf and this one. Because he's a big Ronald Kelly fan. But this is about a clan of Irish folk living in Tennessee. And these murders start to take place, and this football player is like torn apart, and people start to realize there is a werewolf in the town, and these four very unlikely people, I think it's a nerd, let me see, a town nerd, a high school jock, a gunsmith, and a mysterious transient. They kind of form like a bond and kind of a group to try to fight this thing, and it's like an Irish werewolf. Arget Bethier, the Silver Beast. Alright, so that is Undertaker's Moon. Okay, moving on. Next up, we've got some cosmic horror, and from the description, kind of sounds like it might be a little bit of a mix of cosmic horror and a little bit of a mix of folk horror. But anyway, this is The Ceremonies by T.E.D. Klein. And this edition is one that is a reissue and says it is extensively corrected by the author. Okay? And it's got a kind of long synopsis, so I'm not going to read it. But like I said, it's a folk horror, kind of folk cosmic horror tale. It's been around a long time, and I think it's actually the only novel that T.E.D. Klein ever wrote. I'm not 100% sure on that. I know he wrote some novellas that were featured in Dark Gods, but I don't know of anything else. Alright. Okay, moving on, we've got Dark Harvest by Norman Partridge. I'll read the synopsis on this one. Halloween 1963, they call him the October Boy, or Old Hacksaw Face, or Sawtooth Jack. Whatever the name, everybody in this small Midwestern town knows who he is and how he rises from the cornfields every Halloween, a bloody butcher knife in his hand, and makes his way toward town where gangs of teenage boys eagerly await their chance to confront the legendary nightmare. Both the hunter and the hunted, the October Boy is the prize in an annual rite of life and death. Pete McCormick knows that killing the October Boy is his one chance to escape a dead-end future in this one-horse town. He's willing to risk everything, including his life, to be a winner for once. Before Halloween is over, Pete will look into the sawtooth face of horror and discover the terrifying true secret of the October Boy. That's Dark Harvest, Norman Partridge. Hey. Next up, I've got a paperback from hell. I've actually got two paperbacks from hell. First one is The Auctioneer, Joan Sampson. Okay. Harrowing tensions explode in a series of events that could happen anywhere to anyone, just as they do to John Moore, whose days of freedom run out, who is stripped of his possessions, his courage, and his hopes by the ominous presence of a stranger impossible to resist. That's The Auctioneer, Joan Sampson. Okay, next I've got a Splatter Western, Volume 13. And this is Last of the Ravagers by Brian Smith. Snakebite is a sleepy town in the middle of the Arizona desert. Nothing much exciting ever happens there until, that is, a terrified bounty hunter rides in raving about monsters in the desert. Shortly thereafter, a stranger named Doyle shows up, a mysterious figure with powerful magic at his command. Alternately known as the Lord of the Dead and the Last of the Ravagers, the renegade wizard seeks even greater power, the source of which resides in the heart of Snakebite. As monsters and dead things rise and lay siege to the town, a band of citizens must come together to make a desperate last stand. The Last of the Ravagers, Brian Smith. Okay, and finally from Amazon, I've got Gwen in Green. This is another paperback from hell. After receiving a large insurance settlement, young couple Gwen and George fulfill a dream by buying their own little island, a secluded private paradise surrounded by a lush green landscape of plants. What the real estate man didn't tell them was that a tragedy took place years earlier in the cool, clear pool near the house. Near the house, and the waters still hold a terrifying, centuries-old secret. I'm not going to read all the synopsis there, but you kind of get an idea. And if you read the ruins, you kind of get an idea that plants are bad. Okay? All right. Anyway, that is Gwen in Green. Okay, and that is all the books from Amazon. Alright, so next up are the ones from Barnes & Noble. I got 4 books here. Let me get this first one. And I apologize for that little burp that came out. I'm so sorry about that. Alright, anyway, the first one I've got is The Final Girls Support Group. It's by Grady Hendrix. Okay. Alright, in horror movies, the final girl is the one who's left standing when the credits roll. The one who fought back, defeated the killer, and avenged her friends. The one who emerges bloodied but victorious. But after the sirens fade and the audience moves on, what happens to her? Lynette Tarkington is a real-life final girl who survived a massacre 22 years ago, and it has defined every day of her life since. And she's not alone. For more than a decade, she's been meeting with 5 other actual final girls and their therapist in a support group for those who survived the unthinkable, putting their lives back together piece by piece, until, that is, one of the women misses a meeting and Lynette's worst fears are realized. Someone knows about the group and is determined to take their lives apart again, piece by piece. That's the Final Girl Support Group. Grady Hendrix. Okay. Alright, next up from Thomas Oldhovelt. This is Echo. Okay. Alright, let's see here. Travel journalist and mountaineer Nick Grievers awakes from a coma to find that his climbing buddy Augustin is missing and presumed dead. Nick's own injuries are as extensive as they are horrifying. With his face wrapped in bandages and unable to speak, Nick claims amnesia, but he remembers everything. He remembers how he and Augustin were mysteriously drawn to the Mammoth, a remote and scarcely documented peak in the Swiss Alps. He remembers how the slopes of Mammoth were eerily quiet, and how, when they entered its valley, they got the ominous sense that they were not alone. He remembers something was waiting for them. Alright, and that's just a little bit of the synopsis for Echo by Thomas Oldhovelt. Okay, winding down Barnes & Noble from Shirley Jackson, we've got Hangs a Man. Okay. And 17-year-old Natalie Waite longs to escape home for college. Her father is a domineering and egotistical writer who keeps a tight rein on Natalie and her long-suffering mother. When Natalie finally does get away, however, college life doesn't bring the happiness she expected. She becomes infatuated with a married professor and feels lost and overwhelmed. Little by little, Natalie is no longer certain of anything, even where reality ends and her dark imaginings begin. Okay. That is Hangs a Man, Shirley Jackson. And it says it actually was inspired by the true life of a disappearance of a Vermont college student back in the 1940s. All right, finally from Barnes & Noble, I've got A House at the Bottom of a Lake, Josh Mallerman. The story begins. Young lovers, anxious to connect, agree to a first date, thinking outside the box. At 17 years old, James and Amelia can feel the rest of their lives beginning. They have got this summer and this summer alone to experience the extraordinary. But they didn't expect to find it in a house at the bottom of a lake. The house is cold and dark, but it's also their own. Caution be damned until being carefree becomes dangerous. For the teens must decide, swim deeper into the ocean, all the while falling deeper in love, or return to the surface, to safety, to sanity. Whatever they do, they will never be able to turn their backs on what they discovered together and what they learned. Just because a house is empty doesn't mean nobody's home. It's A House at the Bottom of a Lake, Josh Mallerman. I've still yet to read Bird Box. I think the only two books I've read by Mallerman are Goblin and Unbury Carol. I enjoyed Goblin. Unbury Carol is one of those that I could probably take or leave. I'm sure some people liked it. It was okay to me. Anyway. Alright, so moving on. This is going to be the stack of books that I got from Bookhounds, which is the local used bookstore here in Bakersfield. They finally started separating their horror from their mystery and their thriller, because they are all three different genres. They might mix together, but they're not all the same all the time. Anyway. First up, I've got the Mammoth Book of Best New Horror, Volume 15, edited by Stephen Jones. And this has stories in it by Simon Clark, Gemma Files, Caitlin R. Kiernan, Steve Rasnick Tim Levin, Glenn Hirschberg, Caitlin R. Kiernan. Did I say her name already? I don't remember. I don't know. Jay Lake, Ramsey Campbell, and a whole bunch more. Mammoth Book of Best New Horror, Volume 15. I'm not sure what volume it's on right now. Another anthology. This is Razored Saddles. These are Old West stories mixed with horror, or the fantastic, or whatever. Saddle up for a breathtaking ride into a new frontier of terror. Here are 17 startlingly original masterpieces of the macabre. Gruesome tales of madness, vengeance, and heart-stopping horror in a world of Indians and aliens, of gunmen, ghouls, and Elvis impersonators. Experience a modern-day dinosaur roundup. Learn the shocking truth about the hideous curse that killed Doc Holliday. And ride a 40-foot rattlesnake in a bizarre post-nuclear rodeo. All this and more awaits you in a remarkable anthology of evil that gives the Western a black hat and a bad name. That's Razored Saddles, edited by Joe R. Lansdale, stories in it by Robert McCammon, Richard Lehman, Chet Williamson, F. Paul Wilson, and others. All right, Razored Saddles. Okay. All right, next up, 1974. We got it from Robert Bloch, American Gothic. Okay. No one could suspect C. Gordon Gregg. He was a solid and respected citizen, and when he built his multi-turreted castle as a hotel for the fair, no one seemed to notice that all the guests who stayed in the hotel were young, attractive women who always left the city under unusual circumstances. No one realized the horrors that were occurring in that strange hotel, except for young Crystal, whose curiosity and ambition led her step by step into a dark world of madness and terror. And it says here, a bizarre and horrifying series of murders that occurred in Chicago during the 1893 World's Fair is the basis of this gripping new novel by the author of Psycho. American Gothic, Robert Bloch. Okay. Okay, next up, I've got The King in Yellow. And it's by Robert Chambers. And I don't think this is a novel. I started reading The King in Yellow. I didn't finish it, but I think what it is kind of a series of stories that, I don't know if they really like form a whole story, but they kind of give you clues about the stories, so to speak. You know, I might be talking out of my butt here. I'm not really 100% sure, but that's kind of the impression I get from this. You got the Repair of Reputations, the Yellow Sign, Rue Barry, the Street of Our Lady of the Fields, the Street of the Four Winds, and the Court of the Dragon, and a couple of others here. But anyway, that is the The King in Yellow, Robert Chambers. Okay. Okay, next up we've got The Chosen. This is by Edward Lee. And this is a zebra. Okay. Restaurant manager Vera Abbott has come to the inn to embark on the job of her dreams, but from the day she arrives, her dream turns into a harrowing nightmare. She hears strange footsteps, sees faceless figures in the dead of night, and is tormented by erotic dreams in which a hideous stranger makes love to her. The past never dies, it only sleeps, waiting to unleash a new cycle of bloodshed and terror, for the inn is a breeding ground for unspeakable atrocities. And now the time has come for Vera to be initiated into its secret world of depravity and horror, whether she wants to or not. That's The Chosen, Edward Lee. Hey. From Robert R. McCammon, I've got The Night Boat, and this is a gorgeous copy of this, man. Look at this spine. It's like this book's never been opened. Seriously, they just said, "Here, take this book from us." Anyway, this is about a haunted U-boat, a ghostly haunted U-boat. All right, Robert R. McCammon, The Night Boat. Okay, I got a graphic novel here. This is Batman. This is Bloodstorm. This is a sequel to Red Rain. I would love to have a copy of Red Rain, but I can't find it anywhere except on Kindle, so I may have to break down and get the Kindle edition. But anyway, this is a vampire story in the Batman universe. And I believe in this one, Batman is a vampire himself. The Joker is in this. The artwork is by Kelly Jones. Let me find a really cool piece of artwork to show you guys. Kelly Jones has got a really unique style. He definitely fits in with horror. So I want to find a nice splash page, so to speak. If I go too far toward the end, I might spoil something. We don't want to do that. Anyway, but here's some of the illustrations. Okay. Anyway, that is Batman, and that is Bloodstorm. All right, let me hold that up one more time. Okay. And then from John Russo. Now, John Russo is the guy that wrote the screenplay for Night of the Living Dead, and he wrote the screenplay for Return of the Living Dead. But then what he did was he turned around and he turned them both into novels, all right? And this Undead collects both of those in the same volume, Night of the Living Dead and Return of the Living Dead. And if you saw the movies, you're pretty much aware of what occurs in those. And if not, they're about zombies and people getting eaten by zombies. And they were directed by George Romero and, oh my gosh, I'm trying to remember, Dan O'Bannon was the director of Return of the Living Dead. I may be wrong about that, but I think it was Dan O'Bannon. Alright, so anyway, there is Undead by John Russo. Okay. Alright, and I'm winding down Bookhounds. I'm winding out 2 more books from Bookhounds. And here is The House Next Door. It's a haunted house book by Anne Rivers Siddons. And it says here this is the Stephen King Horror Library. So I'm going to look that up and see what I can find out about it. Alright? Anyway, The House Next Door to Colquitt and Walter Kennedy is haunted by an all-pervasive evil. An evil that takes away whatever the occupants hold dearest. The Kennedys are about to become witnesses to an overwhelming force that will strip away the veneer of the civilized Atlanta suburb that surrounds and protects them. Alright, and I'm not going to read the whole synopsis there, but you get a good idea of what it's about right there. And like I said, that's The House Next Door, Anne Rivers Siddons. I'm going to stack that one right there because my stack's kind of teetering and I don't want it to fall. Alright, okay, so next up and finally from Bookhounds, I've got Bloodkin. And I think I talked about this one in my 50 Years of Horror Fiction. Because it says something about the Malunguins, and I'm pretty sure I mentioned that, or it may have been in the Horror Across America, I don't remember. But a dark southern Gothic vision of ghost, witchcraft, secret power, snake handling, kudzu, Malunguins, and the Great Depression. Michael Gibson has returned to the quiet home of his forebears and now takes care of his grandmother, Sadie, old and sickly, but with an important story to tell about growing up poor and Malunguin, a mixed-race group of mysterious origins in the 1930s, while bedeviled by a snake-handling uncle and empathic powers she barely understands. In a field not far from the Gibson family home lies an iron-bound crate within a small shack buried 4 feet deep under kudzu vines. Michael somehow understands that hidden inside that crate is potentially his own death, his grandmother's death, and perhaps the deaths of everyone in the valley if he does not come to understand her story well enough. That is Bloodkin, Steve Rasnick Tim. And that's going to do it for Bookhounds. Man, my battery's already running down. Good grief. Alright. Okay, next up, and these are from Book Outlet. And the first one I've got is Bad Man, and this is by Dathan Auerbach. And I think this is about a boy whose brother, I think it's about his brother who disappears. And the guy basically takes a job at this store, and I think the store is where his brother disappeared from. Anyway, let's see here. Eric disappeared when he was 3 years old. Ben looked away for only a second at the grocery store, but that was all it took. His brother was gone, vanished right into the sticky air of the Florida Panhandle. They say that you've only got a couple of days to find a missing person, 48 hours to conduct searches, knock on doors, and talk to witnesses, 2 days to tear the world apart if there's any chance of putting yours back together. That's your window. Alright? For Ben, that window closed 5 years ago. He still looks for his brother, still searches. Now 20 and desperate for work, Ben takes a job on the night stock crew at the only place that will have him, the store that blinked Eric out of existence. And he can feel there's something wrong there with the people, with his boss, with the graffiti bailer that shudders and moans and beckons. But he's in the right place. He knows the store has much to show him, so he keeps searching. Except Ben misses the most important thing of all, that he should have stopped looking. And that's Bad Man. Okay. Dathan Auerbach. Right, next up, I've got a Cosmology of Monsters. It's by Sean Hamill. Okay. Noah Turner sees monsters. His father saw them and built a shrine to them with the Wandering Dark, an immersive horror experience that the whole family operates. His practical mother has caught glimpses of terrors but refuses to believe, too focused on keeping the family from falling apart. His brilliant older sister Eunice can't exorcise them from her mind, no matter how many versions of the stories she commits to paper. And his old sister, the dramatic and vulnerable Sydney, won't admit to seeing anything but the beckoning glow of the spotlight until it swallows her up. Noah Turner sees monsters, but unlike his family, Noah chooses to let them in. That is a Cosmology of Monsters. That's by Sean Hamill. Okay, next up we've got the Deep Omakatsu. Okay. What really happened on board the Titanic? Someone or something must be haunting the ship. Between mysterious disappearances and sudden deaths, the guests of the Titanic have found themselves suspended in an eerie, unsettling twilight zone from the moment they set sail. Several of them are convinced there's something sinister, almost otherworldly, afoot. But before they can locate the source of the danger, as the world knows, disaster strikes. Years later, one of the survivors, Irish maid Annie Hebley, is working as a nurse on the 6th voyage of the Titanic's sister ship, the Britannic, newly refitted as a hospital ship. When she happens across an unconscious fellow passenger, Mark Fletcher, now a soldier fighting in World War I, Annie is thrilled and relieved to see he survived the sinking. But soon, Mark's presence awakens deep-buried feelings and secrets, forcing Annie to reckon with the demons of her past, as they both discover that the terror may not yet be over. That's the Deep Omakatsu. Okay. And I've got The Toll by Sherry Priest. Titus and Melanie Bell are on their honeymoon and have reservations in the Okefenokee Swamp cabins for a canoeing trip. But shortly before they reach their destination, the road narrows into a rickety bridge with old stone pilings with room for only one car. Much later, Titus wakes up lying in the middle of the road, no bridge in sight. Melanie is missing. When he calls the police, they tell him there is no such bridge on State Road 177. That's The Toll by Sherry Priest. Hey. Alright. From Glenn Rolfe, we've got Until Summer Comes Around. A Love, Loss, Betrayal, and the Undead. Old Orchard Beach, Maine, summer of 1986. The pier, the tourist, and the blazing sunshine. It's all perfect for something in need of warm blood. For 15-year-old Rocky, the summer is when the beachside town he lives in comes to life. But this summer brings her, okay? When a mysterious dark-haired girl named November walks into his world, Rocky's life is forever changed. The young couple quickly fall under the spell of summer love, but not everyone approves. November's brother, Gabriel, is the keeper of the family's horrifying secret, and Big Brother is always watching. So it sounds like a vampire story. Until Summer Comes Around. And Glenn Rolfe is a Springsteen fan, and he usually peppers his books with some quotes from Springsteen stories. Let's see if there's let's see if there's one in here. I don't see one, so I'm going to stop looking because that's taking too long. All right. And finally from Book Outlet, got The Living Dead, Daniel Kraus, and the late George Romero. Okay. And this, of course, is a zombie tale. It begins with one body. In California, medical examiners Louise and Charlene discover a dead man who won't stay dead. It spreads quickly. In a Midwestern trailer park, Greer, a black teenager, and Fady, A Muslim immigrant battle newly risen friends and family. On a U.S. aircraft carrier, living sailors hide from dead ones while a fanatic preaches the gospel of a new religion of death. At a cable news station in Atlanta, the last surviving anchor keeps broadcasting, not knowing if anyone is watching. In D.C., ETA, an autistic federal employee, charts the outbreak, preserving data for a future that may never come. It's the end of the world as we know it. We think we know how this story ends. We are wrong. And that is The Living Dead. George Romero, Daniel Kraus. Excuse me. Okay. And finally, I have got 3 books here that I got from a private seller on Instagram. Goes by Lane Criotica. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but look him up on Instagram. I will put the name in the description because he has some pretty good deals on his books. These are all by Ramsey Campbell. The first one is Scared Stiff, and these are stories of sex, 7 tales of seduction and terror, and they are illustrated by J.K. Potter. Let me see if I can find one, and hopefully I'm not going to be finding one that's like really dirty or something like that. I don't want to do that, but yeah, there's one of the illustrations there. And let's see, blah, 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 blah. Here's one. Where'd it go? Okay, that one's really strange looking. Alright. Anyway, that is Scared Stiff by Ramsey Campbell. This next one is The Booking by Ramsey Campbell. And this is published by Dark Regions Press. Really thin novella. I have no idea what this book is about. It's illustrated by Santiago Caruso. Right, there's some illustration right there. And let me see if I find another one. Here's another one. Looks like there's a lot of spiders in this book. Let's see. Let me find another one here. Let me see if there's more spiders. Yeah, there's no spider web right there. Look at that. Alright. Anyway, that's The Booking. And last but not least for this book haul, I have got Obsession by Ramsey Campbell. 4 people fight for their sanity, their lives, and their very souls, and not everyone will survive. 4 young friends, each plagued with personal demons, receive anonymous letters saying simply, "Whatever you most need, I do. The price is something that you do not value and which you may regain." While they don't take it seriously, they innocently fill out the forms. Pete wants his meddling grandmother to go away. Steve would like a school teacher to stop harassing him. Robin wishes a lecherous co-worker would leave her mother alone. Jimmy hopes his father, a compulsive gambler, will come into some money. They sign the letters, but they are not even mailed, for a sudden gust of wind carries them away. Suddenly, horrifyingly, their wishes are granted. 25 years later, all are increasingly haunted by the tragic after effects of their requests. As they helplessly watch the relentless destruction of their own lives and those of their loved ones, they must struggle not to succumb to the monstrous power that controls their existence, and they desperately search for the answer to one eternal question: how do you break a pact with the devil? And that is Obsession by Ramsey Campbell. Alright, and that is going to do it for this book haul. I am so happy I got to do this. I've been wanting to do this for so long. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for sticking around to the very end. And if you didn't, I don't blame you because this is a long video. But until next time, take care and stay scared. Thank you. Bye-bye.